everyone.
Hello.
I'm George from Bulgaria, and today I'll be talking about something rather controversial still. It is Larp mechanics in search and rescue activities. I deal with search and rescue for like maybe 10 years now. Like a voluntary firefighter, paramedic, I've been in the ERs, ambulances, whatever. So a few years back, me and my team, we started to think of the possibility of implementing some of the Larp mechanisms that we use with such people. So first we try to define the problem. Oh, you need to use a mic. Okay?
If you want, you can.
Yeah, that's why.
Because of the mask.
George, maybe go to the center of the stage, maybe a bit, because you're outside the camera.
Is it on?
Not on the light, but more center.
Yeah, you're better, yes.
Like this? So is it on? No. It is on, but...
Το μικρόφωνο.
Shall I try the other one?
Oh, yeah.
It's working.
It's working now. Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay, so first we trying to define the problem that these people experience in their daily work. Do you have any ideas what problems they can experience that can be related to Larp? Okay.
Stress,
Stress, perfect, okay.
frustration,
Frustration, very good.
I for that situations.
Yes, well, not every day, but there are such situations.
Just like
Thing is that the stress that they experience relates to their ego, because you know they're the mighty firefighters and they're the heroes and they usually save people. So it's really unlikely for them to go and search for help and go somewhere and say, hey, I have a problem with this because I had a stressful shift, I watched some people get injured, or etc. etc. Next problem, of course, is the confidentiality, because these people, they sign contracts and they just cannot, let's say, get back from a shift and get for some beers with their friends and say, hey, I had 2 people burn today, so. or they cannot even share with their closest, for example, with their wives, husbands, or whatever. So this is, again, a very big problem. And of course, the loss, because it happens that these people, sometimes they lose a partner, someone from their unit or from other unit. So if we can relate this to Larp, okay, first about ego. Most of the Larpers, in my experience, they're mighty heroes in game. So even if some of them have problems with some of the experiences that they had in the game, they rarely use help or rarely seek for help. It's not like a common thing. For example, me and Victor, we're like best friends in Larp, and his character gets frustrated and I'm sad, and I go to him and say, hey, they killed my best buddy. It never happens. We don't have the confidentiality issue in Larps, and we don't have this as well, because in one 5 days game I can lose him like 5 times per day. So, yeah, so it's not really an issue.
Yeah, but in a chamber Larp it could be an issue.
Yes, in chamber Larps where you can die only once, it can be really an issue, because usually in chamber Larps the emotions that you experience are much stronger. So, as we pointed out, the problem is stress. And it comes mainly from the things we can't control. Another parallel here, if you go to a burning building, you might not get on the floor that you want quick enough or fast enough, or there are thousands of factors that you cannot control. And on Larp games, it's the same. For example, you invest like lots of your time and efforts to talk with people, to arrange some stuff, maybe create a union or something like this. And at the end, for some unknown reason, it can all fall apart like in a matter of minutes. So we should always think about this and accept it, of course. The problem that we were facing when we started to think how can we help people who deal with search and rescue with Larp mechanisms, the first and the major problem that we experience now as well is the acceptance. So how can we make such people accept Larp mechanics as a tool for helping managing their stress? And that's an open question, so if any of you has ideas, I'll be very happy to listen to them. You can answer now, or we can have a talk after the presentation. Doesn't matter. So, what these two have in common? Okay.
But what does that represent?
Here we'll talk about the dive in or getting into role or however you tell it. So usually there is something specific for these people to do what they do and these people as well. What is it? What do they have like special on them?
The suit.
Yeah, they have the outfit.
This is like a strong team, connection. So like.
Yes, very strong team connection as well.
Especially if the outfit is in the form of uniform.
Yeah, you can very strongly relate and make a parallel between these two. Next is the mindset, because I'm working something and he's working something completely different and she is something completely different. But when we go and play as a clan and we have the outfit, etc., we have to change our mindset to a certain state so we can play together. In search and rescue operations, of course, when you start your shift, you need a bit of a change because you're like entering a state when you can experience something unexpected, something very stressful, traumatic, etc., etc. Next thing is the live action, because even getting into character, like you put your inventory, you try to change your mindset, but it doesn't always go like this. So the live action helps you go into character because things are just starting to happening around you. Like some people attack your camp, or some mage comes and says that you need to go to the druid circle right away. and the things that are happening around you just push you go into character. In search and rescue, it's almost the same. At one moment, you're like staying in front of your building or an ambulance, etc., and the next you just receive a call. It's the thing with the fire and rescue that they just receive a call. Everything starts with a call. So this like pushes them in the but what we all do is like get in character. The thing is that we have not only the techniques and the methods to dive in character, but we also have the techniques for dive out or de-roll. Here you can see same person in two different roles. I don't even know, is he exactly in role here?
Yeah, please.
He is, yeah.
Maybe not for the photo itself, but
Yeah. So, What do we know about the dive out or the deroll? First, how do we do it? How do you do it? How do you get out of your characters?
First, you take out your outfit or uniform or whatever. You just, when you strip it, you start to become more yourself again. That's the first step of this.
Okay. Other people, how do you get out of your characters?
We use our off-game names instead of character names.
How you call yourself your
Well,
name?
no, if it's other, when I'm not just myself, I'm with another person, we start using off-game names.
Okay, that's good.
You get in contact with the world again. Pull out your phone, check what's happening around you.
Okay.
I work a lot with character anchors, so you have specific traits that you understand. This is something that belongs to Alex, this is something that belongs to Mila, this is something that belongs to Abdullahan.
Yeah, this is very good, and we can use that. Other thing or other question is when do we get out of character? For example, there was like this final epic battle just at the end of the game, and I have like several of my friends killed, etc., etc. Do I get out of game right after that, or do I spend some time to allow my character to deal with this a bit, or when do you think is the right time to do this?
I guess it depends how tired you're feeling as a person when it's a Larp game, because if you're in the mood to be dramatic or be after the battle, then that's great and you stay in character, but if you're too sleepy or too stressed at that point, you can just go game and relax.
So the physical condition is a thing, right? Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Yeah.
I think that whenever there's a stressful occasion, I always try to take a breath,
Okay.
get out of character for like a second, and try to empathize with whoever is dead, or something is happening to them, and try to understand through their eyes, body posture, whatever, if it's a serious situation or not. If it is, you kind of go, are you okay? And kind of start with something that's easy to say in game and off game,
Okay.
and see how the person responds. If not, you just continue in game.
Okay, very good. And the last is like where you do all the stuff? Like you do them on the field, or when you reach the off-game site, or when you enter your car? Or... This is the control your voice.
They didn't know yet.
Can they control it? Just stay in the room. Or...
Clearly not.
So when do you think is the right time to do the derolling?
I mean, that depends. For example, if you have like the post laptop, then over there it's a nice and appropriate location when you could just just finally realize that you're not playing anymore, that those are your friends, not characters. And also sometimes after like the Larp ends, usually sometimes it ends abruptly and everyone just like pack their things and go home. And maybe after that, you finally deroll yourself.
Would you say that it is feasible to have like a transition zone?
You can, but for me, for example, it helps that if, for example, the game is finished, or I feel like the game is finished for today.
Sorry. I think from what I've seen in the folk, the transition zone is usually between 2 and 6 a.m. the last night when all the fighting's done and everyone gets drunk.
If you play, because I've played, besides the focus on heavy characters, for me the best way to completely get out of this is when you find yourself in a nice, comfortable, non-stressful environment that has no distractions or a few distractions, and then you can get in the mindset of just going out and be yourself, and you keep in that transition zone until we get there.
But is it something that you create for yourself, or something that you'd rather say that can be created by, let's say, the organizers, like a zone, like a
I think
zone,
it could be
whatever?
created by the organizers, but on the other part, you can search for a quiet place by yourself where you can be alone and just get out the character there.
Okay.
Or search, but you can do it together with a friend as well if you're comfortable. Sometimes that helps a lot.
Okay. So yeah, the getting out of character, up until now we have reached that conclusion that is very important. If we can help these people like get in some kind of character while they work, and after that to get out of character, because it's a very common technique that is used for people who play various characters to, let's say, for de-rolling, like say goodbye to your character, imagine a shelf somewhere in your mind, and then just you put your character there, say goodbye to him, and etc. etc. It's just one of the methods, but it's a thing in LARPing, and most of us, if we play like for 5, 6, 7, 10 years, whatever, we just don't think how we do it. We just can do it like this, and it's very easy for us. But for people who deal with search and rescue, they don't know anything about LARPing, so it's very difficult this to be explained to them, because it would be very easy if I can just take like 10 of them and get them to visit like 10 games of the folk, so they'll just learn how to do it. But it's not possible. And of course we go to the debrief. It's very important. When we make a parallel between LARP and search and rescue, we both need a debrief. We have had cases in our games where we see people that they need a debrief, but they don't do it because they're mighty and they don't want to feel that some emotions have been like too much for them at the time. And of course, when you deal with search and rescue, the debriefing is something which is stated obligatory, but in vain, very few people like really do it. They're just skipping it. So debrief, because it's very important. If we're talking about people who deal with search and rescue, I must now warn you that there is graphic content on the next slide. So if someone is there.
So wait,
Alexio.
You say it was here.
Can someone check on?
Alexio.
Alexio.
Oh shit. Να σου πω. Dude. Έλα, σοβαρά δεν είμαστε εδώ. Alex. Alex.
That's it, fine, thank you.
Okay, I thought you were actually here, for fuck's sake. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't catch the. I'm really sorry. Go
Well, thing is that I instructed him to do this because I really wanted to see how will you react, or if someone will get like stressed of what's going on, etc., etc. And I wrote down, I wrote down for Chris, because usually when something like this happens, you need to be able to react. And when making debrief, you should always know that, for example, people who go LARPing, they have been to like 10 mass battles, etc. But we don't have blood there. We don't have all the stuff that we would have in a real battle. But for example, if you are working with people who go for search and rescue, their shift probably will have pictures like this, or like this. and it's like a normal thing for them. So debriefing is,
Essentially.
yeah, debriefing is a very important thing. So how do we do it? First, we have the stress that we need to cope with, of course. There is a personal debriefing. In Larp, we usually do it with our best friends. We go and say, this was too much for me, and I feel like too emotional or too stressed or whatever. In the units, usually we do it with the commanding officer, because the commanding officer is obliged to debrief people who are in such situations during the shift. So he can ask of them what has happened, how do you think that anything that you do or we did as a team was incorrect, or do you think perhaps that something that we did was wrong or insufficient or whatever. And the point of that is to see if this person feels guilty. Because usually, as I said about the ego, these people are like superheroes. They're constantly training and doing stuff, and they're the people that save people, basically. So if at some point they're unable to save someone, it's a huge strike on their ego, because they're like, was I fast enough? Couldn't I go from that direction, or something like this? So in this personal debriefing, the commanding officer needs to understand if there are such stuff. After that comes the group debriefing. In Larp, we do it usually with our clan, if we have a clan, or again with our closest friends, because it's a thing that's not a lot of people can just share something like this in the open and say, hey, I had a problem with this last battle, or with this ritual that they killed my wife, child, or whatever. It's the same in search and rescue. First, with the debrief, we need to soften this stress, because if we don't, you know what happens next if the stress continues to pile up.
PTSD?
Yeah, we're reaching the state of PTSD where we cannot do anything with Larp techniques, and the person just needs to go to a specialist. We'll prescribe some special medications, and yeah. So I think that this can be used very, very good in terms of Larp mechanics that we use to get in and get out of characters to control these stress levels. What do we need the group for? We need it for validation of actions. In Larp, when you have, as I said, invested a lot of time to organize something or some ritual, and for some unknown reason it has failed, and you feel like shit because you have like engaged a lot of people to help you out and to make something unique, but at the end nothing happened. You need your group to just say to you, okay, you did everything that you did, but there are things that you cannot control, so it didn't happen, and you need this group because you value their opinion, and you need to feel that they're not judging you. And the same goes with the people who deal with search and rescue, because, for example, if I experience something bad and I go directly to psychiatrist, which none of them do, in Bulgaria, for example, the percentage is like insane, like 2 or 5% of them ever seek help or something like this. So if I go to a psychiatrist and start sharing all this, he's not an expert in the things that I do, so he cannot fully understand my concerns about why I feel that I didn't do good enough, etc., etc. But I trust my group because I train with them. They have the same expertise as me. Probably some of them have same or similar experiences like me, where they felt something like this. So they can listen to my problem. They say, enough. They doesn't need to be like psychiatrists or professionalists, and all this stress can be like driven away at that point. Of course, this group can evaluate if the things that they do with this person as a debrief actually work, or if they do not, they can push him to search help elsewhere. And I think this is like the missing link of this stuff. And I think that Larp methods can be implemented here as the missing link, because now you go out of go back from your shift, you write a report, and if something in your report is not good, they send you to the doctor. So imagine if anyone just writes something like this. They have like memorized sentences. We do this, we did this, we did this, we did this. My report is perfect, and this files up again and again. So do you know what is the most used resolution of this?
Medication.
No.
Alcohol?
Alcohol.
Alcohol, yeah.
Like every
Medication. But Balkan.
Yeah, both medication, yeah. It comes in glasses with ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I really think that Larp can be implemented here, and me and my colleagues who are working on this think that it's a very fruitful thing to develop. You cannot deal with this on your own. It's maybe the most important thing. If I can make a parallel, in Larp games is the same, because the stress that you get from some emotional experience, you just cannot get it out of your system like this. No one is that good. You just need to, for example, speak with someone. And of course, if you're experienced Larper who easily or frequently changes characters which are different, some more deep, some not, but you're doing this for years, even if something like this happens, I can put it out here, and I will not need this. Because, for example, as he said, or for example, her, she's been like in, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 different characters over the years on different LARPs. So it's relatively easy, and if you experience something like this, you can put it out here. And you will not like gather a group of friends to.
I would like to expand this a little bit as the way to switch between personas, the in-game and the out-of-game one. As George, I'm organizer of the Fog Larp, which is a 5-day event for who doesn't know. And we are GMs, but we're also playing GMs. So we have characters that are doing stuff around. And what we have learned through the years is to be able to very quickly switch between the GM persona, because some problem arises all of a sudden, and I need to go after the character and go see what is going on and deal with something that happens, being the GM, and then very quickly go back in character. So what happens? I return from this year big game, and it is exactly the next day after the game. I'm deadly tired, I'm wasted, guys. Emotionally, physically, and everything. And it appears that the guy has died in the next apartment, obviously from stroke, so it turned out. But it was during the day, and it was a Monday, so there were not many people available at home, so the police asked me to be a witness to what they're doing down the, describing the scene, finding out
they need
what
to write
happens.
documents, etc.
And it was, I felt it would not going to be very easy, because it was a very small apartment and the guy was laying dead. Also there was some blood involved, because he obviously hit his head while falling, something like that. And I was just, okay, I'm the GM now. I did it unconsciously, but it helped me very much, because in the state of mind that I was at that day, it could hurt me to some extent, and I might not feel that good for several days after that. but I just switched to GM in a way, and then I just handled it and nothing. It had not, it didn't have any bad impact on me.
Sometimes we just click like subconsciously, just click and go there, and we can do that, and other people cannot. So that's why we are trying to develop like a tool for such people.
You can actually tell when Helen is in GM mode.
Yes.
Like, it changes so obviously when she's in GM mode and when she's not. And you can understand and either just be on your way, go away when she's in GM mode, or like say good morning. Good morning is not an option. It's mostly listen here, you little shit, you're gonna talk about. I'm sorry.
Okay. So we have some time for discussion. So if you have any questions or ideas or proposals, just yeah.
If you were to, for example, start teaching this to people who are in rescues, wouldn't that promote them to basically create a different persona, like not consciously, but if they are like, okay, I have a mindset for everyday life and I'm trying to get away from this to deal with the crisis. I'm sure that they do it already, but if you start giving them tools, wouldn't that cause them to actually just think entirely differently in one way or another?
The thing is that some of them they are trying to do it, but they don't have the tools to like do it right. So they do it, but only to some extent. With the people who are like psychologists on the team, they said that it is called like disposable personality. So like you go in game with your character, but after the day you don't put your character on the shelf, you just throw it in the bin.
Okay.
So for us it sounds like pretty simple, but for them it needs much more than this to be. The psychologist said it will be perfect if they can use this personality, and this personality can be like damaged through the day of the things that he's seen, etc., and then you just throw it away and use another one on the next day.
Yeah, I just want to comment on that because some people know that I had a pretty previous injury like some time ago, and while I was staying in the hospital for 2 weeks, I had this particular disposable personality thing happening to me. So I was not thinking about what has happened before or what will happen next. I was only thinking about I'm in the hospital, have to deal with that. And everything that I experienced in that balloon, let's say, bubble of reality, when I got back home, I just thrown away. I mean, I kind of vaguely remember what happened and I can explain it to people, but emotionally I disconnect.
Generally, we do this a lot. We try to have a second personality that we put in the line for different situations.
Yeah.
For example, when there's kids around, or when someone's in grief and we're trying to avoid telling him the truth. Like, people lie or hide behind veils all the time. And if you're doing this to make your life easier, or to avoid getting PTSD and stress all day and getting your hair gray beforehand and not being able to portray more characters, that's an acceptable, I think, give and take.
I think that shows
on a totally different note, have you seen these tools used in rescue ops and not being optional? Because we LARP, we know that not getting the debrief is not an option, or it's really bad if you lose. You can do something else, like going out for a beer and talk about it, but doing nothing is not an option, and we know it. But have you seen it happen in these kind of teams?
Well, the thing is that the system with the firefighters is that, as I said, they write reports. So everything has to be written. So the thing is that you write that you might not feel comfortable after what you saw. It sends you to the doctor.
Yeah, but
So
in another form?
so they don't do that. So the thing for me is like, if we can create this tool and make it available for them to use, they can first not reach the state that they need to go to the doctor. They can deal with the personal debrief and the group debrief, and just everything stays there. Of course, I don't know how we can make it like obligatory for all of them. Maybe we cannot, perhaps we cannot. But if we make them want to use it, or if we can teach some of the people who can use it and say to the others, hey, this actually works, I think it's probably the best opportunity for such thing to be introduced to them, because yes, I'm like kind of one of them, but when I go to them, I cannot like just introduce something like this. It doesn't work. We have tried with several people who are like considered more open-minded, but they just look you like this and what? It doesn't work that way.
Okay, so it's a matter of complete introduction. There's nothing like this in Bulgaria.
No, there is nothing like this. There are tools like this who are being designed in Canada now, because I have spoken with some people from there, but they're in some early stage still, because if you need to implement and present such a thing, it's not okay just to like present it from the local Larp community or even from the international Larp community, because you need to involve like experts, psychiatrists, people who deal with psychological traumas, etc., so they can evaluate it and say, yes, you can introduce this because it at some point comes to like governmental stuff, and they must allow this to happen. For example, in Bulgaria, still the firefighters are partially related to the military, so you cannot just go to these people and start playing with their heads with such things. So it needs a lot of work. It's a presentation. We're doing it like for maybe 2 years now, but I still need a lot of input on that and a lot of work with the other people from the team who can make it work. We have psychiatrists, psychotherapists, etc.
Well, we have kind of moved on from what I was going to say, and I was going to reiterate what Alex says. A good way to sell it would be to make people realize that we are already role-playing every day, all day. Like we are different people with our friends, our parents, our partner, customers. So we're all feeling a different role in every second, and that when we escape the situation, we either put on a self, as we do during the debrief of a lab, or toss away because we're out of the hospital. So I think a good idea would be to sell people that you're already doing it. You just need to do it more consciously during that time.
Okay. If there are